Hey everyone, and welcome. This is PopXcast, where science fiction meets
pop culture.
We are a geek podcast for geek culture. So are you ready to get your geek on? Sit back, relax, put on that Ninja Turtle onesie, warm up those chimichangas. Ladies and gentlemen, this is PopXcast. You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Here we go!
PopXcast.
I was born in it, molded by it.
PopXcast. No strings on me. Autobots, transform.
I'm Batman.
By the power of Grayskull.
PopXcast.
We're doomed.
Goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
Here's Johnny. Never had a pet pony. Hasta la vista, baby.
PopXcast.
Captain's log supplemental.
Negasonic Teenage. What the
I am the one who knocks.
Excelsior!
Gotta love it when Stan Lee says Excelsior. What's up, Lindsay Badger? How you doing, girl?
Hello, Mr. Burke.
Hello, my dear. It's so good to see you. It's episode 113, and as you can tell, we don't have Austin Burke here with us tonight. He's watching the Steelers lose tragically.
It's so heartbreaking. I'm sorry for all the fans of all the Steeler Nation.
I know, man. It's just a sad day for Steeler Nation. I'm sitting here watching on my iPad, and 13, 14 seconds into the game, a fumble, recovery, and touchdown in our own. I'm like, what? Probably
we're more college fans in this house, so the NFL doesn't nearly affect our hearts as much as you guys. But I know the feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
Well, don't feel too bad though. I will give you this much, Lindsay. I did come from Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't have a pro team. So our team is the Kentucky Wildcats. So basketball and football and all of that, that's pretty much what we...
We're Sooners all the way.
Oh, you're Sooners all the way. That's pretty much where we're at though, It's kind of like, okay, I got you. I dig you. We don't have a pro team, but you know what? We got those. Go Wildcats.
Well, Austin will be missed.
Yes.
There's a half the Burke this show no really has, but it'll still be an awesome show, I'm sure.
It will be. It will be. I feel confident about it and everything. But it's been really fun. The 2021's really starting off with a bang. Did not want to say that, but that's all right. Anyway, that's just Anyway, what do you say we get this thing kicked off and opened up?
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to PopX, where science fiction meets pop culture. Now, we'd like to welcome everyone joining us right now on the live PopX.live chat room. What's up, all of our friends over at YouTube? How you doing on YouTube Live? And come hang out with us and join the conversation at PopXcast.com. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to PopX, how we kind of do this is we run the show down. The first 20, 25 minutes of the show is headlines, where we talk about things that's going on in geek culture and movies and comics and video game pop culture craziness. And then at the halfway point around 9:25, 9:30, we dive into the show topic and we spend the remainder of the show right there. So I'm your host, Central Florida the Season's comic book nerd and retro enthusiast. Now, I want to welcome everybody tuning in right now. That's a part of the creative multiverse. I don't know if you guys knew this, but PopX is now part of the creative multiverse. And this is a really cool thing that we got going on. We'll be talking more about creative multiverse in the news segment this week. Something that Lindsay, myself, and Mike is involved in is kind of cool. If you're interested in creative multiverse and what we do, find us on Facebook groups at the Creative Multiverse. Now, Lindsay, I'm going to turn it over to you. We're doing the Creative Multiverse. We're doing something called Artuary. We're not going to dive into that right now, but are you having fun seeing the Creative Multiverse get creative?
I adore this time of the year when it's usually our most active time of the year as well. We see little things here and there throughout the year, but this is really the most exciting time for the multiverse, where you get to dive down the rabbit hole of creativity and see all the different angles and thought processes behind just one singular word and how they
It's so cool.
These things.
It's so cool. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to let you go on with the rest of the intro here, because I don't want nobody to hear. They're going to hear me enough later in the show.
I know, we'll geek out about that here.
I'll have a sip of water while you're done.
But if you missed our last episode 112, we broke down, dissected, and put it all back together with Scotch tape. Wonder Woman 1984 review last episode. Make sure you go over to our official website, PopXcast.com, for that episode and all the other great past shows from our collection in the archive of PopX.
It's 113 episodes, Lindsay.
This is actually a really special episode.
And we're going to be talking about that here in a minute.
I know
it's really,
things to talk about.
It's so super exciting.
But before we do that, I have to remind you guys that after tonight's show, make sure you go over to your Google Play or your iTunes or both. I encourage both. After the show tonight, make sure you go over and click subscribe, and make sure you also give us that glowing 5-star rating and maybe say something nice, because it really helps us get out there and get discovered by new people.
It does.
And you can share the awesomeness of our podcast.
Yes, please. We love you long time. Anyway.
All right, should we dive into the news?
We are. Don't go anywhere. News is coming up right now. Extra, read all about it. This is PopX News, coming to you live right here on PopXcast.com. Now, just a week removed from the anticipated debut of WandaVision, which drops this Friday. Yeah, boy.
I can't believe it's already here.
I know, right?
I'm kind of hyped.
I'm a little excited. I got so excited. I don't know if you know this before I go into the news. I got so excited I went ahead and made a show card for WandaVision, not even realizing that it's going to be like every Friday and not just all at one time.
Oh,
and I'm like,
okay.
I'm like, oh.
Well, we'll just stick a date on it.
You hear that in your back of your head? Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Aww.
It's okay. So WandaVision on Disney Plus, Marvel Studios is trying to get fans excited by releasing the first 2 episodes on a supplemental series called Marvel Studios Legends. Now, riffing on the name of the wildly collectible Marvel toy line from Hasbro, though some have been excited for at least some content from the Kevin Feige-led outfit, and overwhelming majority were very disappointed with the lack of the creator or the filmmaker involvement with the show. Instead, fans were treated to the streaming equivalent of a clip episode, simply showing a edited package of clips featuring Wanda Maximoff and Vision, Paul Bettany, and Elizabeth Olsen from movies they've already appeared in within the MCU. Now, suffice to say, most fans of the MCU hit social media to express their disappointments in the setup with the series. A lot we can unpack here now.
They went back in the last decade of movies,
and
they just cut out all the pieces with Wanda and Vision in it, and they like glued it together.
Why?
And they called that an episode? Is that what I'm understanding?
See, I'm so confused. Now, Mike has seen this, and so Mike is going to be able to weigh in on this a little bit more. Mike?
Yes, I'm going to use the word that I would never use in the Marvel universe, and it's called garbage.
Oh.
Yes, this is
Do tell.
Of garbage. When I put it on, I saw it was a 7-minute episode, and when I saw Legends and they showed Wanda and Vision, I figured, okay, maybe there'll be a little backstory to it. And that's exactly what it implies in the review, is that it's clips from all the Marvel movies they've appeared in. And when they went over to Vision, it was basically the same clips from different angles. This was a complete pile of trash. This is a joke for Marvel. I wouldn't even see DC doing something like this. When I saw that, I'm going, Marvel's got this trend of, fantastic shows and movies, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just, I can't believe they just allowed this to happen.
Wow.
This is terrible, and they should just seriously pull this show off. And it's not even a supplemental show. And then it seems like the intro was more interesting than the rest of the show, which was
What?
all clips, and then right at the end they show you all the movies it's from. But be sure to watch it on Disney Plus.
So there wasn't
That's
any
what it was.
new footage filmed. It was
There's
just
nothing. Everything is what these characters appered in all these movies.
the
That is-
scraps they swept up off the editor's floor and just like, oh, well, I can
It was
use
just,
these.
it was just like watching clips of the movie. It was like
That
a
is so
7-minute
depressing.
movie trailer. That's all it was.
That is so sad. That is.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was just, I couldn't believe it. I was so frustrated. I'm like, I want my 14 minutes of bandwidth back.
What in the world, though? I mean,
I don't know
it's
who
why would you?
approved this, who thought it was a good idea, but this is definitely not hyping anybody up for WandaVision. This is just.
Well, that's
a
and, you
disaster.
you said something there, Mac, that I want to kind of touch on for a second. It's definitely not hyping people up for WandaVision.
No,
I mean,
definitely not.
you're sitting there like, okay, you're super excited because this is going to be our first taste of the MCU on Disney Plus, like we saw Mandalorian. Mandalorian really set the bar freaking high. Let me just say that much. And I mean, it's got me a little worried for WandaVision. Like, I hope I'm wowed and blown away by this time next week after seeing the first episode. But
Yeah, I never would have expected they would have done that. I figured it would have been a little bit of backstory, a little bit of comics, a little bit of interview with,
John Poffenbarger over there. I will just choose to believe that Marvel Legends doesn't even exist.
Yes.
yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
The smart thing to do is just to kind of like pull the
Wow.
show off and don't tell nobody.
I'm sure it won't be
honestly,
missed.
I just want to go watch it now to see the train wreck.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do like to watch a good train wreck
I was
happen.
glutton for punishment to watch the second episode. I figured, well,
Oh, God.
maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I don't get it. But it was exactly the same thing. And I'm going, well, I know what Iron Man and Captain America episodes are going to be like. You might as well just run, Civil War and be done with it.
So is
Show
it
7 minutes of Civil War.
just rehashed footage from different angles?
Yeah, it's just basically clips from the movies. All when the characters appear together, obviously it's majority of the time it's one. I mean, when they showed Vision, they showed the early parts when he showed up in,
Yeah,
in Ultron.
yeah.
That of course, Wanda wasn't with him, but basically it was a majority of it was Infinity War, Endgame,
Civil War.
Civil War.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're seeing.
Okay.
So.
Maybe
Okie
they
dokie.
were doing it was a bad attempt at, but maybe they were just trying to remind you of the relationship without you having to sift through multiple hours of movies to figure that out again.
It didn't seem that way. It just seemed
Oh,
more
okay.
like
I was just
clips of
last ditch
movie-
effort to
clips of
put
the
some meaning
movies, yeah.
behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the motive if you wanted to create a 10 or 15 minute like mini, I don't know, a documentary film or back story
Like a
type.
rehash
Yeah,
of your
rehash.
storyline.
I could understand that, but have a narrative with it.
There was
Um,
nothing but clips. That's all it was.
that's sad.
Mm.
Luke, maybe it'll be a
Like,
cult classic.
It reminds me of that time when you go over to see grandma and you have to sit down next to her at the coffee table with the photo albums. And you have to sit there for 3 hours and
Oh,
sit
yeah.
through all the old pictures of people you don't even know. It
Yeah,
sounds about that enjoyable.
I don't know. I would rather sit with grandma after hearing this. She had some pretty awesome stories, especially when you get a little bit of grandma's nip in the side of her. You know what I'm saying? You get some of that fruit jar going on, boy. I tell you, old granny would just cut loose. But anyway, I just really showed my Kentucky Appalachian roots there, and I do apologize for that. Or do
No,
I?
don't apologize for that.
All right.
That's awesome.
All right, well, that's enough of the
Let's
Marvel
move on to
lesson.
the next thing, shall we?
All
I
right,
think we
Lindsay
beat that
Badger,
one
go
to
for
death.
it.
All right. So apparently Knight Rider's kit, the car you may remember back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
is going up for auction. And you
What?
too can be the proud owner of David Hasselhoff's personal ride. The current top bid,
Pretty
you got a
sexy.
few pennies laying around in the back closet there, $450,000. But that will only climb as it moves forward. For years, people have wanted something like Kit in their own cars. Now that chance is here, thanks to live auctioneers. You'll have to act fast as the auction ends January 23rd. And as an added bonus, the final price ends up being 25% of the reserve.
Oh,
Hasselhoff will deliver your car in person.
the Hoff.
This will be a wild time for whatever Knight Rider superfan ends up getting this vehicle. Weirdly enough, the set of indicators on the dash and in the console are mostly just for show, but that doesn't make them any more staggering than in the show. This is definitely a statement piece. I see, who's the comedian that does the puppets with the Batmobile? I see him adding this to his collection, honestly.
Oh, you're talking about Jeff Dunham.
Yes, Jeff Dunham. Thank you.
He's a huge car collector, and he actually owns the one of the original 6 Batmobiles from the 1989 Batman film.
Mm-hmm.
There were 6 of them made for film, and he owns one of the original movie prop, not a replica, movie studio Batmobiles. But I would definitely see Jeff Dunham going for Kit.
Can you see Peanut driving around in Kit?
Or what was he, jalapeno on a stick?
Or Walter.
Walter would be great.
Yeah, throw down with Kit.
Throw down with Walter. But that's really interesting, to hear that you can actually own a piece of history and have history deliver it to you. It made it sound like Hoff is like...
The Hoff personal delivery is definitely that cherry on top of that awesome nerdy cupcake.
Yeah, I would just want to... I would do it just for Hoff, probably. I don't have that kind of money, so I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
You probably want to have a karaoke night with him and sing the Guardians song.
Dude, he is huge in Germany. He is freaking huge in Germany. You say that jokingly, but the dude is like a megastar hit. It's crazy. But anyway, I digress. Moving along with our news this week. In season 2 of The Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano made reference to Grand Admiral Thrawn, which ignited speculation among Star Wars fans that it would be the only matter of time before the villainous character made his live-action debut, resulting in countless theories about which actor would take over the role. Now that his time as Tony Stark in Marvel Cinematic Universe has come to an end, some fans have expressed that none other than RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. himself, could be taking on the role. This is fan expression, by the way. With there even being some rumors that the actor may have met with Lucasfilm about getting involved in the franchise to some capacity. Now, I got to be honest with you. I could definitely see RDJ throwing down some Star Wars.
But would he be in this role? Can you see him in this role?
As Thrawn? Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I think it. He's got it in him to. He's such a multifaceted actor. He can be the hero as well as the villain. And his previous film track record shows that from what he did with Chaplin to just all the many things that he's done throughout the course of his own film history. Got a huge repertoire of films, by the way. And a lot of people, as of recent, just know him as Tony Stark from MCU, but RDJ's goes way back. Yeah. And I honestly, he's a seasoned actor. He's one of Hollywood's elite. He's one of the best right now in the business. Age is just a number. This guy is killing it. And I would love to see that personally. I would love to see some of the MCU actors graduate over into
Are there
Lucasfilm.
any other actors that you would like to see play this role?
Yeah, Bryan Cranston.
That's a good one.
Bryan Cranston. I mean, nobody plays a villain better than Bryan. Another one. I don't know. There's a lot of roles that could play Thrawn. Thrawn is he's got a very unique voice. He's got a very unique structure and status about him. If you don't know, you need to go and brush up on your Star Wars Rebels, I believe it is. And yeah, but I would love to know who do you guys want to pick as to play Thrawn? Is there somebody from the previous MCU that you would want to pick, or is there just somebody out of the wall that nobody's heard? That would be interesting, right? What do you think?
It would be interesting to see. Oh gosh, me and my names. You're gonna have to help me. The newer James Bond guy.
Oh yeah.
I could see him playing an Imperial role. He just has that stature about him.
He does. Yeah. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I could definitely see that happening. Anybody that's maybe as of recently has played, even Pierce Brosnan could do a good job. I know, right? He's pretty.
That's my night. That's my ball right there.
That's my weakness, but yeah, absolutely. Anybody in chat, who do you have right now? If you're watching the show, if you're listening on the podcast, comment down and let us know. Like, who would you want to see play Thrawn in an upcoming Star Wars spinoff series on Disney Plus? All right, cool. Moving on, Lindsay Badger.
Is it mine already?
Oh, did I? Yeah, I just did Mandalorian.
Yeah, you did. All right. Well, we can throw down on the next one. Let's do this. After a long and frustrating wait, the CW has finally decided that they will no longer have a full season of Green Arrow and the Canaries, effectively ending the story of the Queen Smoke family on the network. That does not surprise me. We haven't heard a lot about any of the CW shows.
I stopped watching Flash around season 5. It just became, I couldn't. Anyway,
Yes.
Continue on.
So the Green Arrow and the Canaries had been planned as an Arrow spinoff starring Shadowhunters veteran Catherine McDormand and Mia Queen, Green Arrow, alongside Katie Cassidy as Laurel Lance / Black Siren, and Juliana Hakavi as Diana Drake / Black Canary. The characters came together in the year 2040 in the penultimate episode of The Arrow titled The Green Arrow and the Canaries, a backdoor pilot for a planned series starring the trio. See, I was always a super good fan about the Flash series.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Arrow series started off really strong, but it really kind of petered out for me. It's very dark.
Yes.
So if you're not really into the darker side of DC, you're not really going to stay a follower of that.
Correct.
So I'm actually surprised it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, you know, and just to touch on what you were talking about, how it kind of petered out a little bit. I can't remember what was the end of season 5. It had something to do. Oh, it was the guy that had the thinker, the guy that was in the chair with his brain, yeah, it was. I didn't see the culmination of that storyline, but that's kind of where I was. It was around season 5, end of season 5, and I know there's a couple more after that, but the stories between Green Arrow and the Flash, and then you had DC's Legends of Tomorrow, then you had Black Bolt. And then you had
crossover.
And now you've got Lois Lane and Clark coming out, Lois Lane and Superman or something like that. And now you have the new Batwoman coming out who has been recast. So you have all this, and I'm just like, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot to digest. And at the time, it just seemed really fun when it was just Arrow and Flash, and you had all these other characters coming into it. That was great. Even DC's Legends wasn't kind of pushing the boundary that much, but now you've got 7 shows in the culmination of all this that's going on, and it's like so much to keep up with. So that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm kind of like, there's no way. I mean, at some point I would have to catch up to get back into the storyline, but right now I just can't do it.
Yeah. So that's no good for the CW. I wonder what they're going to fill in.
I have no idea. We'll just keep going, though, because we are recording it. So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We'll just keep rolling.
All right. Well, did you want to move on to the next one then?
Yes, we will. If you're able to see the stream out there, just let us know right quick. We're looks like we might be having a little bit of an issue, but on my end, Lindsay, it does appear that we are going out on to.
It says that we're live. It's just There's an error.
It's all good. It's all good. You know what? You can always refresh the page, possibly. But
there it goes.
Yeah.
It seems to be.
Don't worry about
it. I think we had a little hiccup there, but we should be okay.
It's those darn teenagers playing that Nintendo Switch of yours. Is what it is. All right, last one, and then we're going to be talking a little bit about the Creative Multiverse stuff. If you're looking to add some 3/4 scale arcade cabinets to your live, well, the next wave of arcade 1-up cabinets are now available for pre-order. X-Men versus Street Fighter versus Capcom Clash of Superheroes, X-Men, Children of the Atom, and X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. Now, the X-Men versus Capcom cabinet contains the following Marvel superheroes: War of the Gems, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of Superheroes, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighters, and both the X-Men versus Street Fighter and Marvel versus Capcom cabinets are all Wi-Fi enabled, meaning that you can compete and cooperate with each other online through arcade one-up cabinets.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
These cabinets are pretty rad. I don't know. Our friends over at the Tech Buzz, they do a show on their gaming channel called Retro Buzz. He has an entire basement full of these machines.
Mr. Stephen Haywood.
And shout out to Mr. Haywood. He and his friends over there are super geeks about the arcade world. And this is also one of their fun toys that they talk about a lot. And it's really cool how the technology has advanced where you can customize these machines to do all sorts of different things. It's pretty impressive.
It is.
There's every game that you can imagine. I know you're like, oh, we can do that on a Retro Pi. It is not the same, friends.
I'm telling you, when you have the joystick in your hand and you're pressing the buttons, it's just so nostalgic because it's taking you back to, when you were popping the quarters in the slot and you were, you run out of 3 lives and you pop in the quarter.
Some of these machines you can actually add the coin slots to.
I heard about that.
It feel like.
Yeah, and you can get the fake coins that weigh the same as the quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You'd be like, here, I'm going to show you what Daddy did back in the day. What's up, Steve Medeiros? Hey, our buddy Steve's hanging out with us in the chat room. He's one of my friends. He's part of the Team PopX over on the Call of Duty League, and we are just killing it night after night on Call of Duty. And we're playing Cold War right now, and obviously we play Warzone together as well. Steve, what's up? Check him out, Joker_VM74 on Twitch. Steve, it's good to have you in here tonight, man. Good to see you. Alrighty, so I believe we got one final thing, and then we're going to go in and talk to this week's show topic, which is obviously going to be cool, Cobra Kai. But we're talking about Artuary 2021. Now, this is something that Alex, oh my gosh, she's in the bed. It's funny, right? Lindsay, the first woman that always comes to my mind is going to be my wife. I'm so sorry about that.
I would hope so.
I would hope so too. That would be really bad. You know what? Somewhere though in her sleep, she just smiled. I'm pretty sure that happened.
She did.
Yeah, but anyway. So Lindsay, Mike, and myself. Mike, this Mike in the chair down here, we've all three been participating in Artuary. Now, what is Artuary? Artuary is a 31-day art drawing challenge that prompts you every day with a brand new, fresh word. Now, you're going to look up on your screen here, and you're going to see 3 words. Let me go ahead and just maximize that for you so you can see that. But it's really neat because this allows us to be able to, you wake up in the morning, you see the first word, all right, so the first word, what is today? I think the day is mold. We're on day 10. So you gotta, there's a lot of, it's words that have multiple meanings. Every word that's chosen can be taken in both ways. Is it mold that grows on your baseboards or on a slice of bread?
Or is it like clay that you mold into a sculpture of some sort?
Or is it a mold that you pour in a metal to?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things.
Angles that you can do with that.
And I will give you a hint on what mine's going to be. I am actually going to draw my Mold-orama from Weeki Wachee Springs in Florida. So this is going to be what I'm going to be drawing for day 10. So I'm actually going to draw this 3D-ish like in pencil.
Nice.
And so that's going to be Mold-orama. Get it?
Have the little holes in the bottom of it where the
look,
yes.
Look at that. Isn't that cool?
I can smell that from here.
It smells like crayon. It smells exactly like crayon. It's so old school. See, now that's how PopX works. We are so old school. But so Artuary is really cool. And the thing about it is we're already 10 days into this and getting ready to go into 11 tomorrow. And we have so many people, Lindsay, we have people all over the world participating in this drawing challenge.
World, all skill levels. Some people are not even artists. They're just doing it for fun, which I think is the best part. It's not a competition at all. It's just something for you to kind of push your own personal envelope to challenge yourself to see what you can do. It can be, and the fun thing that Joe and I had discussed whenever we made this was we wanted it to not be limited to a specific medium. So you can be a 3D artist, you can just do pencil and paper, you can use your kids' crayons or markers, you can go out in the world and do photography, whatever your heart desires in the land of artistic expression is open game.
And we've had people doing photography of their cats in the snow for Shiver. We've had people like, I mean, painting. We've seen oil and acrylics. Remember the one that the lady did with the she painted the acrylic mask on her face it was an awesome portrait. But now here's the cool thing. You're hearing us talk about these artworks that have been submitted, but you can also see them, and you can see them for free. All you got to do is go over to Facebook groups and type in the Creative Multiverse. Now you'll hit on join group. It's a private group, and we don't sell the artworks. We don't do any kind of crazy licensing. It's nothing like Inktober. No disrespect to Inktober. We're just artists that love artists, and that's where it stops.
Inktober inspired us to start this so that we could have kind of our own rules and our own way of doing things. Correct.
And so the cool thing about it is you can join, and you don't even have to participate. You can just watch the daily posts come in per word, and it's amazing. I mean, for me as an artist, it's a blessing to see a person across the world in Australia or New Zealand. We have them in Norway. We have them all over the place that are submitting, especially across the entire United States. We have a few in Canada this year, but it's cool to see everybody's interpretation of that word and what that word will mean to them at that moment.
We also have an official hashtag that we are using along with the group on Facebook, which is hashtag Artuary and also hashtag Artuary 2021. You can follow along also. There's people on Instagram also sharing their work there as well. I haven't been out on Twitter, but I would assume people are probably doing a little bit out there as well.
And another good way, too, I want to mention really quick, you brought up a really good point on social media, on Instagram. On Instagram, I haven't done it the past couple of days, but these daily recaps were to be like the top 10 of the day. And each image, as you're swiping through, will be tagged to that artist. So you can actually follow that artist and their artwork, which is kind of cool. So check us out, and be assured we got, 21 more days left of Artuary, and January's done. I mean, it's fun, though. We look forward to doing this every year. It's a great start to kind of just kickstart your brain for a year of creativity. And you don't have to be a pencil artist, ink sketching person to participate. And I want you guys to know that. All right, so with all that said, we're going to wrap that up on the news this week, and we're going to kindly graduate into Cobra Kai. So we're going to roll. We're going to roll that spoiler alert. So listen, guys, if you've not seen season 3 of Cobra Kai, we're about to drop some major heavy-hitting spoilers. So beyond this point, you have been warned.
Danger. You are about to enter a PopX spoiler alert. Beyond this point, there is no return. You have been warned.
All right, you have been warned. That is absolutely correct. So we are talking about season 3 of Cobra Kai, and we're getting ready to drop some major spoilers this week on this particular season, which I have to say right off the top, Lindsay, and you might agree with me, might be the best season of the series.
I will agree with that. I feel like it was the most dynamic
I won, Mom.
story-wise.
No, go ahead.
I feel like it was the most dynamic story-wise. We kind of dug a little deeper into our throwbacks and references to the original movie. And also there was a lot more relationship development there that I really was looking forward to, that I was missing from the previous episodes. So I agree with you.
Yeah, Cobra Kai never dies. That's exactly right, John, over in the chat room. But season 1 kind of, we didn't really need to see the life of Daniel LaRusso.
No.
But we see what's happened 25, 30 years later. We see what the aftermath is of this. I guess it's 30 years later because it was 84 when it came out.
Correct.
And so we see what's happened to the LaRusso family, and he's kind of done good for himself in season 1. He's got his own car dealership. He's making a lot of money. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we got Johnny, who is hitting the bottle pretty hard, and he's down on his last dollar, and he can't make it. That's pretty much the summarization of season 1, I would say. It's the struggle of Johnny overcoming his lack of what he doesn't have, and Daniel being humble with what he does have. He's not arrogant. He's not flamboyant about his money. And so I think that would be a good summarization. And then
I feel like season 1 was really more of a glimpse into the villain.
Yeah.
It was like a villain backstory more than even a focus on the current day of how Daniel-san was doing in his life.
Yeah. But it's really interesting that you say that, Lindsay. It's for the first time, I think, in this series and in this legacy of filmography or whatever you want to call it, we are seeing the story told through the eyes of the villain, not the hero. So the script has been flipped. Instead of the focus on Daniel LaRusso, the focus is on William Zebka's character in Johnny. And, we're seeing a lot of what the struggles are and how he's picking up the pieces of his life and how he's living in the shadow of John Kreese. He's living in the shadow of every decision that was made in Karate Kid 1 and 2.
Right.
And he didn't get the belt. He didn't win. He's a loser. He's a good for nothing. And his motivation is
with his family situation,
right,
and how he could never live up to the expectations of his stepfather and all of that craziness.
But season 1 really sets a great foundation for the rest. I mean, it really does. I think I have to agree definitely with over in the chat room. John is telling me that he really likes season 1 because it's still one of his favorites of them all. And I have to agree. I mean, there's so many. We're introduced to the children of each character, of Johnny and Daniel. We're introduced to, their structure and how they're living in the, I don't want to say the fame of their fathers, but the decisions of their fathers and the decisions that they made. And so it really goes into the depth of that. And I love this story, how it's told from Johnny's perspective more so than it is from Daniel's. Because we already know what Daniel, he won the belt. He won the championship, and he
came out on top. He gets the notoriety and the higher stature just because of how popular martial arts was at that time.
Correct.
Which now currently is not
but it's making a resurgence. It's making a slow resurgence.
We're making a comeback with this one.
And then we go into season 2. Season 2 is kind of really in it. At the end of season 1, we are introduced right at the last scene. John Kreese walks into Cobra Kai. And, and they introduce pretty much the most of season 2 is John Kreese sinking his claws into Johnny. And Johnny dealing with his former sensei and just how of a brutal, harsh character John Kreese is. The dude is reckless. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the relationship status, or he doesn't care about, feeling soft. He just wants to
really
get back.
About ripping that Band-Aid off and cutting himself and separating himself from Kreese and developing his own person. You could tell that he was struggling with his fundamental teachings from Kreese, but he also had that goodness in him, and that even in the original movie, it shows his struggle with those two elements.
Well, I think it's because he lost.
Right. Well, I mean, even before that, he still struggled a little bit. He was just a dumb teenager at the same time.
Well, he's kind of reckless,
It shows more of the humanity side in season 2.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. There's a level of Johnny that is developed in the character, and I just love the writing on all of this. I mean, season 1, 2, and 3, it's just phenomenal how they're setting this up, and then the cliffhangers at the end of each season are just amazing. Mm-hmm. But season 1 is kind of the setup. You're getting introduced to the characters in their post 30-year era. And then in season 2, we're starting to develop, Johnny is obviously developing a heart. He's developing a heart for love. Mm-hmm. He's developing a heart for his son. He wants to be there for his son. And yes, Johnny has a son. And
in this season as well, the kids develop a deeper relationship with each other.
Exactly. Well. And, there's a little bit of a teen drama story there, and I'm kind of glad it doesn't go all in to the teen drama.
Yeah, I would get a little.
It gets a little wonky after that, but there's enough there for both sides. Whether you're a young person or whether you're one of us who lived in the 80s, and appreciate the good storyline. But then at the end of season 2, the culmination of John Kreese's new mentality and Daniel trying to fight for his family comes to head in the high school. And that is when one of the characters takes a traumatic fall and ends up becoming paralyzed at the end of season 2.
That just broke my heart when Miguel fell.
Dude, that was brutal. That was savage. And it doesn't really, I mean, we're just kind of backpedaling a little bit, but we're kind of giving you a full Cobra Kai
There's
narrative.
a lot of story here.
There is a lot of story here. And these episodes are only 25 to 28 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
They're not long at all. They're half-hour segments, but there's so much story packed into
They
each
tell
episode.
their story well. There's not a lot of fluff and extra to trim off it. It sticks straight to what the mission of the episode is.
But then we get into season 3.
Yes.
Miguel is in the hospital, in a coma, paralyzed.
Non-responsive.
Non-responsive, no brain activity. And, Miguel is kind of one of the, if you don't know, Miguel is Johnny's neighbor's son. And Miguel was getting picked on in school back in season 1. And Johnny felt amongst himself to reform Cobra Kai and start helping Miguel fight back on his enemies and not be bullied. And in that became a interesting dynamic between Johnny's biological son and Miguel.
Yeah.
And LaRusso's daughter, which is the catalyst, if you will, for the story and the storyline. So anyway, moving forward with that, season 3 kind of opens up. Miguel's in the hospital bed and there's a lot of drama and a lot of this, and then how obviously everybody is feeling responsible for this.
The whole town is in uproar about this whole event.
Yep.
And the students, we start with them finally returning back to school after, I assume, a suspension.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So there's a lot of tension. The security is through the roof at the high school. All of these teens are like
metal
have
detectors,
huge grudges against each other. Crazy.
It is crazy.
And, LaRusso's girl, what's her name?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
God, the
Yeah,
name.
I know.
It kills me. Anyways, she apparently had a lot of trauma from Miss Tori in her interaction with her that she had to deal with, and kind of that was her main struggle through the whole season.
Well, Samantha LaRusso.
Samantha, thank you.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of, personal
Mhm.
internal struggle through the whole thing, which I appreciate it. And I feel like it was warranted, but I felt like it was a little bit overdone.
Possibly. I mean,
dramatized.
you got to remember though, when you're that age and something that dramatic happens
it's
to you
all
in front of
dramatic.
all your
I know
friends,
that for sure.
I mean, it's like that point when you poop your pants in school and you got to walk around all day with crap in your pants. You feel humiliated. I mean, I'm just being real.
That's a personal experience, Joe.
Well, it happens every day.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Depends.
You think it's air, and then anyway, moving on with the story. It's just I'll be honest with you though. We've all had that moment in school, whether it's in elementary or high school or college, where you were embarrassed, and not only you're embarrassed, you're a little ashamed, and that's kind of what she was going through, because her scars were literally a reminder on her arms of a very traumatic and shameful moment. And she didn't stand up for Miguel, and she didn't do her part, and she blames herself.
I feel like it was warranted to have that in the story and to have that issue addressed. I don't feel like that, but I do feel like, especially towards the end of the season, it's like, girlfriend, you can kick some serious ass. Can we please move on?
I'm tapping over in the chat room. Look at the chat room right now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Lord.
John's.
Somebody pass Joe the Clorox wipes.
I'm
Good
telling
Lord.
you, man. Give me a flushable wipe. This boy's all sorts of torn up.
You can't do anything with him. Can't
crap.
take him anywhere.
Crap myself. But
So, let's talk about Robbie a little bit, because he's a little bit more absent in this season than in the previous 2 seasons. Though he is still present, he has a different role that he plays. His reaction to the drama at the high school was completely different than everybody else's.
Yeah, he's a fugitive now.
Yes.
He's a fugitive, and he's wanted, and he's the one that kicked Miguel off the railing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's in hiding, and he stole a van from LaRusso, and he's trying to flee the cops and get away. And And it's a really crazy scene. He's living as a homeless person.
He doesn't have like a trustworthy
No.
role to turn to, so he feels like he's kind of on his own.
And I kind of feel I feel like Daniel did a really good job though in making him own up to it, and then having,
I did like that.
it's like it's better now to get this one hurt over than run and have a bigger hurt down the road.
Yes.
And it makes a ton of sense. And that just is very wise of Daniel's character to say. I really enjoyed that. But you're right. There wasn't as much Robbie in this until the end. Until the end. And we'll get to that here in just a second. But I want to get to episode 5.
Okay.
Probably one of my favorite episodes in the entire series. And this is when Daniel goes to Okinawa.
Ah, yes. I was about to transition into that too.
Yes. Episode 5 for me was a huge turning point. I honestly feel like there was so many. Well, first and foremost, the cameos. Can we stop there?
Okay. If you have not seen the second Karate Kid movie,
You need to see part
then
2.
you will be completely lost with this episode and all of its references.
Yeah.
You have to be knowledgeable in not only the original movie, but also at least the second one, at least so far. Who knows if the third or fourth or newest ones will come into play later, but right now, if you don't know the first and second movie of like back in the 80s, then you need to catch up because you're going to miss so much from this episode if you haven't seen those. Carry on.
No, and I kind of like Robbie's comment. John's comment over in the chat room about Robbie says Robbie kind of sucks. His character flip flops. I liked him before this season, and I have to agree with you.
I think he's intentionally written that way, but look at his backstory.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a solid foundation to return to, so he's just.
Well, his dad checked out of him most of his life. His dad was an alcoholic. Post Cobra Kai.
I feel like that's on par for what his character is written to be.
But,
even though I agree with you, I don't like.
But season 5, you had hit it on the head with watching Karate Kid Part 2. You have to see Part 2. The characters, there was a love interest when young Daniel goes to Okinawa. There was also the villain, and both of them return in episode 5 at his visit to Okinawa.
As soon as the guy walked into the restaurant while they were sitting there having their tea, I was like, "Oh man,
it's him!
What's going to happen?"
I kind of thought it was Gilbert Gottfried for a minute, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of was like,
I can see that.
I was like, "Oh wait, that's Gilbert. Oh wait a minute, that's that guy from Part 2. Never mind." It kind of kicked in, It's like, but I think it was such a mature lesson that he gave Daniel in learning the part of the Miyagi dojo tactics that were never taught by Mr. Miyagi. And I think it's pretty special, that he got to know, the part where it numbs your limbs, hitting the pressure points.
Yes, the pressure
during
points
combat and stuff.
To paralyze your enemy.
Exactly.
Did you catch the Easter egg at the bar when they first arrived to the restaurant?
Well, Daniel is sitting down with his love interest from Karate Kid Part 2.
Right. Okay, so let me set it up.
Okay, set it up for me.
He first is at the bar, and then they later go sit down at a table. But while they're standing at the bar, if you look over their shoulder while they're talking, you see a rack of ice.
No. No,
I
did see that.
Off the rice chunks to put into glasses to serve drinks.
I did see that. And at the
I
first,
was like, that is
but
brilliant.
when the scene opens up, you think that's what it is, and it zooms out, and they're actually just cutting ice for the drinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways, that was
a nice pull.
If you guys didn't see that, go back and check it out. But
that was definitely a nice pull for sure from Karate Kid Part 2.
So that was a great little trip. It was kind of sad the reason why he was there.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be okay, conveniently.
It turned out that his friend Kumiko was friends with the investment automobile dealer that Daniel was there in the first place.
Trying to get their help.
But backing up before that, the whole reason why Daniel went to Okinawa was just to kind of rediscover himself a little bit. And in doing so, Kumiko had these notes and letters that were written from Mr. Miyagi to the love of his life.
To her aunt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been Mr. Miyagi's wife.
And he read the last letter before he died. Oh, I was almost in tears whenever that whole scene went down. It was so sweet.
But you can almost hear the voice of Mr. Miyagi coming through that. Yeah, and it just, the way she was reading it, you could hear his voice from the movies reading it. It was so tender. But I think too, I think Daniel got closure. He got closure from that, and I think that really kind of fueled him. And then
I think he was frustrated at first, knowing that there was things that Miyagi didn't teach him. But then later, after his training, he was like, I understand why he didn't teach me these things because I wasn't ready
He wasn't ready for them. Yeah.
But I'm glad that he did finally complete his training.
And he got everything. He knows everything about Miyagi Dojo now, which is amazing. And, we're talking about episode 5 in particular because episode 5 is definitely a huge callback from the movies because there's a lot of cutback scenes to the original films. But also, too, there's a lot of answers that come to fruition, and it helps really drive home the narrative of the final episode. Because I don't think if we have the Okinawa episode, the final one wouldn't have meant as much, especially with the battle. We're leading up now to the big street brawl with John Kreese, Johnny, and Daniel. Everything's come to a head, and the finale of this is
party.
Yeah, we're seeing the finale of this, and then all crap breaks loose at Daniel LaRusso's house, and it's just like, oh my god! And then Daniel comes home and he finds all of it, his house is completely wrecked, and then he goes to John Kreese, and then Daniel and John Kreese start kicking butt with each other.
Yes.
And
how did you feel about the third dojo, Eagle Fang development?
I think that's what's just way of Johnny just separating himself from John Kreese. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the name, and they say that right in the show. I'm not a big fan of the, we all know that Johnny is not a good marketing person, but I think the final brawl though, when Johnny stands beside Daniel against John Kreese, I think that's the moment that right there was like, holy cow, these two,
happening.
The enemies are working together to bring down the villain.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And, that really set it up for me. I was like, it was awesome. Between the point, I'm just like, oh my God, I need season 4 now.
Well, and how did you feel about Eli or Hawk switching sides?
Oh, dude. And, I think, too.
In the middle of a massive battle.
I'm just going to call him Hawk because Eli is just like his former, but I think honestly he was a bully himself first. Season 1 callback. That's the reason why he got involved in Cobra Kai to begin with.
Right.
He had the cleft palate. He was made fun of.
He was trying to overpower and get confidence and strength, and I think he realized this season that he went too far, and he didn't even see himself getting to that point. And then
it's when they broke his arm.
Slap in the face for him.
Remember when they broke the kid's arm in the arcade? Yeah. And he saw that, and he just kind of like, he was like, he had a moment. And then it happened again at the LaRusso's house at the Christmas party. And he just could not do it. He's had enough, and he started fighting against his own. And it was just, I think in that moment, I think Hawk and probably Eli saw a lot of himself in who the young kid that was getting the crap beat out of him. And he just stood up for him.
The person that terrorized me and still does probably sneak into my nightmares if I let her, Tori. She is a psycho.
What is with that lip? Like,
I don't know.
She always does that lip thing. Like,
she has this really like serial killer smile.
Yeah.
That makes you think that she's going to have a glass of Chianti.
Yeah.
When she gets home.
And then like rip your insides open and just like string them up on a Christmas tree.
Some beans. I don't know what is going to happen to her character or if she's going to develop and turn into a good guy. I honestly don't see that happening. I see her being like Kreese's number 1.
She's going to be an antagonist to Samantha. She's going to be Samantha's antagonist. And
scary child.
She's definitely special. She could be in a good horror movie or something like that. But
Anyway, so how did you see? Was it predictable the ending
No.
of the season?
I don't.
You didn't.
I don't think it was. I mean, there was a part of me was a questioning: is Johnny going to go back with John Kreese? There was a moment there because it was so uncertain. I mean, part of me did want to see Johnny join with Daniel. A part of me wanted to see that. But I think for me, the standout from this entire season was episode 5, Okinawa. I think, man, I can eat that kind of stuff up all day long.
Yes. Well, I mean, and speaking of flashbacks, we did get to see finally an explanation of why Kreese is the way Kreese is.
We did. We didn't even talk about that either. His Vietnam flashbacks when
and
he
where
was,
Cobra Kai came from.
and where he was a prisoner of war in one of the camps, and he had to fight his own Marine, his captain, and
his superior officer. He had to fight him to the death.
And it was in a snake pit. It was a small, narrow bridge that these dudes had to fight over.
Kind of voluntarily fought him to the death.
Well, I think John Kreese's character, he just had enough, and he had enough of his captain, and he just snapped and was like, "I'll do it. I'm going to do it." And I think that's the evolution of his character. From waiting tables in a small country diner and being made fun of, essentially, to enlisting in the army, to becoming pretty much of a badass.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, like raw strength and power is what he turned himself in.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of impressive
in
its own weird way. He just did it in the wrong way. Also, what did you think when you first saw the snake pit? What was...
Man, that was
I feel like that was a little over the top. It was a little bit Indiana Jones. Did you think it was a little bit?
I did, but I did feel a little Indiana Jones there. But you got to remember, it's an '80s callback. It's from an '80s movie. So there's going to be some sharp cheddar cheese thrown in there at some point.
I appreciate that, but it was like, how many snakes are there? And did they catch them all by hand?
1 million.
Just some weird prison camp in the middle of the jungle has like a million,
500,000 serpents in a giant pit, and the only food that they get is when some soldier falls into the pit to be.
I don't know. It's plausible.
And then I don't know, but it is an '80s storyline based off an '80s film, and there is that. So
now the little cherry on top of this entire season is that we were blessed with another cameo.
Yes, we were. Yeah, Daniel's first
the
love interest
of both Danny and Johnny, Miss Allie.
Allie is back.
Got to come in, and she actually didn't even know she was going to be invited.
Really?
Until they were starting to film the series.
That's awesome.
Of the season. So, and of course she said yes. I saw the little post show thing later, but I really enjoyed her appearance and how that kind of doused a little water on the rivalry.
Yeah, the complexities of both of the characters.
Yes.
And I do love, too, I'm glad you brought her up, because it really showed that Johnny had an opportunity to get back with her. But he chose Miguel's mom. He chose Miguel's... Perfect. He stayed... For the first time in his life, I believe that Johnny made a good and righteous decision and not be a player and do the right thing. And I think Miguel's mom,
and they built that up so much this season too. I mean, he kind of did a little bit of book face, book facing, and stalked her a little bit. But like that whole when Miguel started getting better and healing, that was kind of like their comic relief was the trying to get back in touch with her and taking all those silly, goofy photos and. Trying to make it look like he was having the time of his life, and really that wasn't the truth.
And I when I see Elizabeth Shue, her character, I don't really see her from Karate Kid. She's always going to be from Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She I never really connect that directly to that.
Oh yeah, that's her from Back to the Future. Marty's main squeeze. From part 2 and part 1 now. I don't know if you knew this, but the actress that played did not repeat her role from part 1 in Back to the Future. But there, even the more you know. So we pretty much, we summed it all up in season 3, and I think there's a lot of good I mean, as we talked about, for me, the good definitely outweighs some of the slight cheese factor that we saw in the series. And like I
I feel
said,
like it wouldn't be right with a little bit of Parmesan cheese sprinkled on
well,
top.
you know, you got to have some 80s cheese. But I think, Adventures in Babysitting, good pull. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Oh yeah. Also, how do you feel about the 80s nostalgia, and was there enough of it?
Just enough. Wasn't
Just-
overkill. It wasn't in my face. I think
How do you
Stranger
like the metal Christmas music during the fight was pretty rad.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think that Stranger Things. I think in season 3, I think they went crazily overboard with the '80s nostalgia. But I think that this one was just right. Whereas Wonder Woman '84, they got it right in the first opening act, and it just didn't flow through the rest of the film.
Didn't have enough to
There's
spread through the whole
there's an
3 hours
ebb and
of that.
flow. There's a balance there, and I think it's a good balance between storyline and then throwbacks and stuff. But bringing it all home, season 3 for me was outstanding. And I think episode 5 really was kind of the glue that brought all of the episodes together.
I was left craving more
Oh, gosh, yeah.
as soon as I binge watched the whole thing in one sitting.
It's amazing.
Very easy to do that this show because of the storytelling. as
Right.
we-
About
before
3 or
it's
4 hours, you're done.
As soon as the season finale ended, I was like looking up when season 4 was coming out because there's a tournament to be had, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a tournament. Season 4 is going to be the tournament.
Let's throw some bows. Let's
And
go.
we're going to see what happens when Eagle Fang, Cobra Kai, and Milwaukee
Yes.
Dojo come together and fight in the All Valley tournament. But I think for me, season 3 is definitely probably one of my favorite of Cobra Kai. So many callbacks, so many cameos, so many Easter eggs, and there's something there for everybody. Whether you're a young person growing up today, or you're a well-seasoned nerd like all 4 of us from PopX, it's pretty awesome. And we're going to go ahead and do our review, and then we're going to share something right at the end of this that's pretty awesome for PopX, and I don't want to forget to mention that. So I'm going to personally review Cobra Kai Season 3. I'm going to give Cobra Kai Season 3 a solid 9.0. I really love the music. I love the writing, the producing, the cameos, the character development. I was definitely all on board with Cobra Kai Season 3.
Yes. And I actually was not that far from you, Joe. I had an 8.7 in my mind.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. So we
So,
have a 9.0 and 8.7.
That's pretty good. That's
I
pretty
like
good.
it.
And you guys are welcome to let us know what you thought if you saw it in the chat.
Yeah, so let us know if you're commenting. If you're commenting in the chat or on our live to YouTube channel, or you're listening to this podcast when you get and after the fact, you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your. Yeah, comment and let us know about it. But I do want to mention one more thing, Lindsay, before we go away. It's kind of a special day today.
It is very special.
Yeah, we haven't said anything about it, but we want to
Nope.
let you guys know. On this date, today, January the 10th, 2016, PopXcast came into existence. Our very first episode featured Jordan Woods Robinson from The Walking Dead. It was an actor, Jordan. He played Eric on the show. And then he's also played in Blue Man Group. He was an actual performer in the Blue Man Group, among many other awesome adventures that he's had. But we got to interview him live. At the time, we were on a streaming platform called Blab, which was blab.im, which is no more.
Gone.
No more. But essentially, PopXcast is a product of Blab. And it's pretty awesome. Today, on this date, is the 5-year anniversary of PopXcast.
Happy birthday, PopX.
I got to say, Lindsay, you've been with me throughout the entire thing.
I have. I've not been on every single episode, but I have always faithfully been nearby, either behind the curtain backstage, pulling all the cogs and ropes in the back end, or standing here geeking out with you guys in one way or another. And it has been an absolute pleasure.
It's been
And
awesome.
I look
And
forward to 10 more years.
And think of all the
doing it.
talent that we've had on the show, from Retro Blasting,
Phenomenal, the guests that we've had.
Russ Braun, the artist from Marvel and DC Comics. We've had Matt Roseboom from Orlando Attractions Magazine on the show. we've had a plethora of awesome individuals and talents throughout the years. We've had video game developers, and we've had comic
Retro toy
writers.
collectors.
Yeah.
We've had them on several times. Retro blasting. We love them. They're
And
so fun.
we've even had we had one whole episode dedicated to nothing but Doctor Who. And we had a special Doctor Who fan all the way from the UK join us for that episode, which was fantastic. And so we've had some really cool stuff in the 5 years that we've been broadcasting. And, we don't do this every week. This is more of what you would consider a hobby podcast, a hobby cast. And but we love what we do, and we love talking about geeky things. We love bringing you some of the headlines that, no matter if they're quirky or geeky or whatever, we're having fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's to 5 more years, Lindsay. I just can't wait. And beyond that, we'll be 60 years old talking about PlayStation 8s.
I've turned my hearing aid.
My hearing aid, turn my hearing aid up. I can't watch this Batman film right now.
I'm going to have my great-grandchild come turn the computer off.
But episode 113 is special because it marks our 5-year anniversary. And I want to say a huge thank you to Mr. Mike Ippolito down
Thank you,
here.
Mike, for all of your amazing graphical magic.
Yes, there is an actual... Oh, yeah. Well, you are welcome there, Conan O'Brien. But Mike has been with me pretty much through the infancy of PopXcast and has come on board, and he has done so much for me throughout this 5 years. And I think, PopX is one of those really cool things that we get to do, and we get to have fun, but it's also therapy for us. We get to sit back and for an hour and 20 minutes, enjoy talking about things that we truly love. And that's comics and pop culture and movies and all this good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the meat and potatoes of what we do. We just love to talk about this stuff. And why not just stream it while we talk about it?
Why not?
You know what I mean?
We get to bring in more people to geek out with us every single episode, and I think it's great.
And I do want to use a shout out right now to a person that's been on me since you've been with me from episode 1 all the way through, but Austin Burke. Austin Burke came on at episode, I believe it was 11, if I'm not mistaken, 11 or 12. And
He's been here the majority of the time, and what a great dynamic he brings to the team. His quirky Burke.
We've seen him in his dormitory
genealogy
with crappy Wi-Fi signal in his dorm.
Oh, bless his connection.
And oh my God, it was he couldn't do shows at certain times
if there was a thunderstorm nearby, he'd be like, "Sorry guys."
Every time somebody flushed a toilet in his hometown, the whole internet would go out. It's hilarious. Then we saw him got married. He got married a couple years ago to his lovely bride Madison, and so he's been a part of this for quite a long time as well. But that's all I want to say. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has listened and downloaded and subscribed to our feeds and to our live stream. We're still doing this because you're still listening, and we want to thank you for that. And it means a lot to us that you're still doing it. And so from all of us at PopX, thank you so much. So we're going to wrap things up here, Lindsay. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. I am Joseph Burke at Joseph Burke Arts all over the web. And we're also part of the newly formed, as we talked about earlier, creative group known as the Creative Multiverse. For more media content, artwork, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Creative Multiverse. Now, if you are a creative, you produce content, or you have a talent, and you want to see, and we want to see what you create. First and foremost, we want to see what you create. Join us over at the Creative Multiverse on the Facebook groups.
Yes, we like to share.
Yes.
Sharing is caring. All right. And for PopXcast, we are also pretty much everywhere on the worldwide netwebs. Social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
ladies and gentlemen. It's a brand new platform that's just come out.
I just made it up.
Yeah.
Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest. Everything is the tag at Pop.
Are you twiddling with it again, Larry Lindsay?
I'm twiddling my
Okay.
thumbs over
All
here.
right.
Send comments and suggestions to us via email if you so choose. popxcast@gmail.com. Also, for future and past shows, please visit our official website, www.popxcast.com.
All right. And I am Joseph Burke at Joseph Burke Arts. Once again, I want to say a huge hats off to Team PopX for making this week's episode come to fruition. We'll be back in a few weeks as we're getting ready. We may do WandaVision. We may do episode 1 of a WandaVision recap just to kind of see what it's about. We may actually do just one episode on the episode, not an entire season. We're kind of curious about how WandaVision is going to play out. So I'll stay tuned to our feed, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and Twiddler, if you're part of that.
And Twiddler.
Twiddler. Yeah, we need Twiddler on there. But listen, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for 5 amazing freaking years. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next time on PopXcast. Thanks for listening to PopXcast. As you're enjoying listening or viewing our shows, please consider clicking on the subscribe button to our feed and click the get notifications buttons so you don't miss out on great future content. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PopXcast, and on Instagram at PopXcast. And be sure to drop us an email anytime at popxcast@gmail.com. For more great content, check out the Creative Multiverse, where science, art, and imagination come together with artistic talents. The Creative Multiverse can be found on Facebook groups under the same name. We'll see you next time. Get your geek on.